Good evening. Welcome everyone to the Township Council meeting, Monday, August 28th, 2023. This meeting is now called to order. All rise for the salute to the flag and please remain standing for a moment of silence for 3-year-old Liam Marquez, who is an honorary member of the Fire Department and Police Department, and for Helen Lewis, who passed recently, who was a member of the Senior Advisory.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. Mrs. Kraus, please read the statement of public notice.
Take notice that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with NJSA 10:4-8 and NJSA 10:4-10 as follows. A notice of the meeting was prominently posted on the bulletin board at the municipal building located at 225 Main Street, Little Falls, New Jersey on January 5th, 2023. A copy of the notice was mailed to the North Jersey Herald and News and the Record on the same date. Additionally, a copy of the notice was filed in the office of the Township Clerk on said date. A link and a telephone number to join the meeting virtually can be accessed on the Township website at www.lfnj.com. Electronic provisions have been established for the public to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Kraus. At this time, please call the roll.
Councilmember Patel, Councilmember Murphy,
Present.
Councilmember Hablitz, Councilmember Vanchery, Council President Scoba.
Present. If there's no objections, we're going to take the meeting minutes of the July 24th and August 14th and one motion. Can I have a motion to approve both meetings?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilwoman Hablitz. This is to approve the minutes of the meeting of July 24th and August 14th. Mrs. Kraus, call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yes.
Councilmember Hablitz. Council President Scoba.
Yes, at this time, Mayor Daniano, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. This evening, the first thing that I'm going to do is a proclamation for our honorary Fire Department and Police Department member, Liam, who, as you indicated, was 3 years old and recently passed. For those of you that don't know, we had a big day scheduled for Liam here in Little Falls on August 16th, just a couple of weeks ago. And unfortunately, we learned just prior to that on the evening of the 15th that Liam was not going to be able to make it on the 16th. He was not feeling well. And it was on the 17th early in the morning that we learned of Liam's passing. And on that day, we were going to bring him here to provide him with a proclamation and to really give him a big meet and greet with all of our fire department and police department for a final send off, because as many of you may know, Liam was terminally ill with cancer, and this was something that he had always loved. He had always wanted to be a part of this first responder community, and we were trying to give him that. And again, it was just the morning after this that we learned of his passing. And I'm going to ask this evening, Jess and Corey, his aunt and uncle, and anyone else here from the family that wants to join us up here for the reading of a proclamation for Liam that was going to be presented to him on that day, and was ultimately he was unable to make it. So we want to have everybody join us up here as we honor and remember Liam. And it reads, whereas the Township of Little Falls recognizes that Liam Marquez is a superhero who has been a part of Little Falls community. And whereas bravery is usually the biggest trait of a hero, and because Liam is as smart as Nemo, as awesome as Moana, as strong as dinosaurs, and as brave as a superhero, he is our hero and our brother. Whereas we realize that the need for superheroes can arise at any time, we rely on the vigilance and preparedness of Liam. During these times, to assist the Little Falls Police Department and Little Falls Fire Department to serve and protect this community. And whereas we are proud to announce that the Township of Little Falls will be enlisting Liam's help, and he will be an official member of the Little Falls Police Department and the Little Falls Fire Department. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Mayor James Belford Damiano and the Township of Little Falls Council, that Liam Marquez is officially sworn in as a member of the Little Falls Police Department and the Little Falls Fire Department and is to be honored as such. Guys.
Of this town, of everything that everybody did. And really, oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you for making his dream come true. Actually, that was the only thing he ever wanted to do was be a police officer, so, and thank you for the fire department and everything. You guys did a great job. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Murphy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Just want to start by saying, and wishing my condolences to family of Liam. It's a tragic day when I heard the news, and seeing him when they brought the parade to him at Passaic Valley and his eyes light up when he got the helmets was amazing. And I just want to send my regards and condolences. Just a quick update on the calendar. I was able to speak with Mr. Pace today, and some good news. We have about 60% of the ad space on the calendar sold. Right now, we have 2 half-page ads remaining and 4 or 5 full-page ads still left. So we're making good progress on that. Our goal was to be pretty much near completion by the end of August, and I'd say we're pretty much getting there. I think what we're going to do is by the September 18th meeting, if we don't have all of the ads completely filled out, I know we had discussed potentially opening up to the Passaic Valley area, Little Falls, Toledo, Woodland Park, to those businesses if they want to be able to advertise in it. So I think the comfortable timeline would be if by the 18th, our next workshop meeting, if calendar ads are not filled up by that time, we'll start to bring in the other 3 towns. I think as the calendar goes out and residents receive the calendar and they understand what it is, because it's never existed before, I think Little Falls businesses will be more apt to do it in the years to come. But I think for right now, it'd be good to, if we can't fulfill it, do it to the 3 towns if we have to. But I think we'll be okay. It's really all I have, Council President. Thank you.
Councilman Murphy, thank you. It would be great if, the town has quite a few businesses that we could do it here in town. But if we need to go outside, I'm sure that calendar would be quite filled quite quickly. Is there any questions or comments regarding the calendar? Moving on, Councilwoman Havertz.
Just some updates for the library. They are continuing with some fall programming. Happy Hour Yoga is back on Tuesdays at 5:30. It is $5 per class, and you can pay at the door. Also, this month they have the Greet Daisy. Daisy is a certified therapy dog. On Wednesday, September 13th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. You do need to register on the website, and as always, please check out the library website or their social media for more great events. Also, we have some other upcoming town events. We have returning our Little Falls Townwide Yard Sale. The date has been changed to Saturday, September 10th. Saturday, September 30th, with a rain date of Sunday, October 1st. There is a $5 permit fee, and you must be registered. But the $5 does help with advertising that we do. We do all the advertising for everyone, plus lawn signs that we get that say that you are a participant and our virtual map. And last but not least, I have our Little Falls Run this year. We're changing it up a bit, and with everyone loving Halloween in this town, we have decided to make it a spooky 5K sprint. That will be Sunday, October 22nd. Check-in will be 8 a.m. You can register at Run Sign Up. There will be a costume contest for adults, groups, and kids. The registration fee will be $30 prior to October 13th and $35 after. So it should be fun. Bring out your best costume. I know Little Falls can do with this Halloween theme. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The runners don't have to be in costume, is that correct? Or?
But
It's encouraged.
Councilman Ben Cherry gave me his report. His report is as follows. On Friday, Ron, Stell, and I picked up a 9/11 seedling tree that Little Falls was awarded. Upon our return, the DPW supervisor and his staff met us at the park to officially plant the tree. We are grateful for the 9/11 Memorial Museum for selecting Little Falls. We'll officially dedicate this tree at the 9/11 ceremony. The 9/11 ceremony will take place on September 11th at 6:30 PM at Wilmore Road Park. All are welcome to attend. Thanks for the coordination from the mayor, Chief Pearl, Ron Campbell, and our assistant BA to ensure that the no blocking of the box lines were painted last week. Next, the signs will arrive, but this is something that the Transportation Committee and I worked on with the Little Falls Police Department to place at several intersections. Also, the lines that were redone on Main Street between Stevens and Center, including the center double lines, as well as adding a loading zone near Center for the deliveries to our local businesses. Lastly, I know earlier this evening, there was a moment of silence for the reading of the proclamation from the mayor and the council for Liam. I was honored to know Liam and will never forget him. No matter what he went through with his cancer, he always had a smile on his face. He will be missed and has made an important impact on many of us from the Township of Little Falls. My thoughts and prayers are with his family. Christopher Mancheri, Councilman. Coming on October 13th will be our Harvest Moon Dance. It takes place at October 12th. This is for seniors. We'll be doing the menu. Kalila Paragoli and myself determine what the menu will be. DJ Angela will be playing. For those council members and mayor, you are welcome to attend. That's October the 12th. And actually, we could probably use your help. Our hometown hero program is moving along. We have two committee members, Kim Cubano, who sons Vinny from the class of 2022 is in the Marines in California, and Susan Jones, who has two sons in service. One is Jack Jones. He's in the Marines overseas. He's a graduate of Passaic Valley of 2020, and her son Henry, who just was dropped off at St. John's University. He's in the ROTC program. He's also going to be going into the Marines. We do have a sample of the banner, what it may look like. And I'll hold that up at this time. Councilor Wenzel, if you would assist me. Do I have it back there? So this is something for active, retired, and killed in action service. Counselor, do you have anything for this governing body this evening?
Roll it up, think he's close.
Okay. Have a motion to open the meeting to the public for agenda items only.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Howard, second by Councilman Murphy. Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Mrs. Kraus.
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the council president. It is preferred if you give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the council president. Members of the public who have joined the meeting virtually and desire to provide comment shall raise their virtual hand in the Zoom application. The meeting moderator will cue the members of the public that wish to provide comment, and the council president will recognize them in order. Members of the public who have joined the meeting by calling in must press *6 to mute and unmute themselves and *9 to raise their hand. Members of the public who have joined the meeting via the Zoom application must click the reactions icon and then the raise hand icon. Once the process is complete, we will return to the regular order of business.
Thank you. The floor is now open. For the record, you just need to state your name, not your address.
I'll do that anyhow. Cindy Alexander, 10 Montclair Avenue.
Thank you.
I'd also like to send my condolences to the family if they're still here. That was.
Yeah, just if you don't mind, if you
And
could,
it's only, yes.
speak closer to the microphone so we could get on.
Oh,
record.
sorry.
That's okay.
I'm here to speak on 1469. I am a client of Ascend and Rise and Cape Cod Cannabis and anywhere I can. I have a severely broken back, which you wouldn't know because I'm standing because marijuana helps me function. I recently lost 80 pounds within a year's time because I found marijuana, and it has helped me through the pain. I spend my money in Montclair. I spend my money in Bloomfield. I spend my money in Patterson. I am the face that walks into this establishment. You have to give government issued ID when you walk in the front door. There are no products when you're let into the building. There are no products on display. You can't see, you don't pick out what herb you want. It's not like behind a glass door. You're handed your product in a sealed container, which I have in my bag if anybody wants to see it. I know what's in it. I know what I'm getting. It's not laced with fentanyl, which is marijuana is now being laced with fentanyl. It helps me. I really do not see a reason why Little Falls, with all its progressive motions, with us wanting to move forward, with us wanting to bring people into this town. I don't need to do the stats for you. Crime rates are not up in towns that have warehouses. I'm sorry, my pain level is like here, so my brain goes elsewhere. I just think it would be a good idea for Little Falls. I hate spending money in Montclair. I hate it, hate it, hate it. They have everything. So that's all. I just wanted to show my face because I go to these places and I'm not a scary person and I'm not, somebody that's on the street and I'm not going to hurt you or anyone here. I just don't want to be in pain anymore. So thank you. And I'd rather give my money here. As you can see, I'm a big fan of this town. So let's go Little Falls. And I'm going to go home. I'm sorry, but it's freezing in here. So
We apologize for that.
that's okay.
Does the council have any questions, comments regarding the residents? If you don't mind, if you would approach, I'd like to ask you a question. Is there a reason why I'm sorry, we have to get you on record. Is there a reason why you go to multiple different locations because one doesn't have what you're looking for?
Sometimes, yeah, there's not. I have a strain that I like very much. It's called Bubba Fett. It hits my back pain without hitting my brain very much. And sometimes I can get that as a send in Montclair. Sometimes I have to go to Rise and Bloomfield. I was just on vacation in Cape Cod. That's why I went to Cape Cod Cannabis. I will go where the strains are that specifically help my pain. Yes. If that's in Little Falls, fantastic. I would much rather. I spent $100 in Montclair today. I'd much rather put that money here.
Well, we thank you coming before us. I know that's not easy.
I'd like to see. I don't know if this is allowed, but I can show you.
No, that's quite all right.
Comes in. Okay.
It's quite all right.
Okay.
But we but we appreciate you coming before us. I know that's not easy for people still with a new age to say I use marijuana. So we
Oh.
appreciate you coming right up front.
I'm
Right.
an open book, so ask
Right.
me anything.
Mayor, excuse me one
Ms.
minute.
Alexander,
Mayor,
how long does $100 worth of cannabis last you in
Last
your?
me,
Yes.
about a week. So it's I buy pre-rolls because I like them. They're easy and I buy 3 at a time and 3 or 4 at a time. And that will last me about a week with pain. I do not smoke and drive. I do not smoke. And if I am home, I am at a friend's house, I'm secure. Like I wouldn't drink and drive. It's anything like that. It's the same type of thing, but it's just not as scary. Like you're not handed a baggie. You're handed a sealed container that you can't smell. It's in my bag right now. You can't smell it. You can't see it. Kids can't get it. It's locked tight. Any other questions?
no, thank you. Thank you for
Okay, thank
coming.
you. Next time I'm going to wear a coat.
Mr. Crucia, there's a hand up, so we'll go to the chat. Mr. Giordano, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, the floor is yours, sir.
Great, thank you. My name is Hugh Giordano. I am a union representative for the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, UFCW, Local 360. The UFCW is the official labor union which represents cannabis workers from seed to sale under the guise of the AFL-CIO. And we're proud to represent thousands of workers right now here in New Jersey, from cultivation all the way to the dispensary. I wanted to comment and say that the UFCW labor union supports the ordinance 1468 and I believe 1469 in regard to zoning. We support having these establishments. They create good jobs. These are union jobs. New Jersey has made it very clear that when we create a new industry, we're going to do it right. And we're going to make sure that they come with good wages, good benefits, retirement, like any other job. We want to attract the young talent as well. A lot of these workers that are in this field are intelligent, young, educated employees. They come from Stockton, they come from Rutgers, they have degrees in chemistry, they have degrees in botany and horticulture. So if you want young families to move in that are educated, this is definitely the industry that's going to do that for you. I think that, making sure that these jobs are unionized is important. And I think that these workers deserve to know that they're going to be respected in Little Falls, because these workers will most likely be your constituents. So I would ask that if you have, if you're able to amend the ordinance to have labor peace, so that when they operate their union, and also project labor agreements to make sure that when it's built with union labor. The workers of Little Fall deserve that, especially the union members in your town. The one thing before I go, I just want to say, I want to comment that I'm sorry to hear about what with Liam. I'm very sorry, but I think it's wonderful that Little Falls cares enough about even its youngest constituents. It was beautiful to see that. And I also want to comment that I think that it's awesome that you do both virtual and in person as well. There are a lot of people that are senior citizens, that are disabled, that can't attend these meetings. And the fact that Little Falls has a both virtual and in person shows what a township can do when they care about their people. And I just think that you should be commended on that. So in closing, the UFCW supports cannabis in Little Falls. And we hope that you'll protect your workers and have labor provisions put inside. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening and for your comments. The floor is open. I just want to go into the council chambers if someone would like to speak. Does anyone like to come up in the council chambers? Go ahead. Go ahead. You're welcome. You could just state your name.
My name is Rebecca Panico.
I'm curious, do you live in Little Falls?
Yes,
Okay.
I've been in Little Falls for about 3 years.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm here tonight to speak on ordinance number 1468, which pertains to allowing a cannabis dispensary in town. I know some council members wanted more input from residents, which is why I came here tonight. I am in support of this ordinance. The reasons why are because more than 67% of township residents voted in favor of recreational cannabis as a ballot question in 2020. And that's according to election results from the county. So if we break that down, that's 4,502 Little Falls residents voted yes on that ballot question, as opposed to 2,157 who voted no. While the question of allowing a cannabis dispensary in is a slightly different question, council members could assume that a majority of residents would want more easy access to marijuana based on this data. Secondly, I would welcome a dispensary in town because it would be an opportunity to boost tax revenue. I've observed heavy foot traffic at dispensaries in Montclair and Bloomfield, and we should want a business that will remain in town for a long time and bring in more ratables. Just drawing to a close, I'm in full support of this ordinance. My only concern is in regards to the other ordinance, number 1469, about zoning for this dispensary. I'd prefer not to have a dispensary on Route 46 just because traffic on that highway is pretty terrible right now. And just considering how busy the dispensaries are in Montclair and Bloomfield, I just wouldn't want to have that amount of traffic on Route 46. And I just think making it more accessible for people in town would just be a better option for all of us. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Does the council have any questions or comments?
I have a question.
To the floor, Councilwoman Havelitz.
So just to clarify, you would want it to be somewhere here in town, but you would not want it to be on the highway. You would want it to be more in our downtown area. That's what you're suggesting?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, just because I live close to Route 46 and I avoid that highway at all costs. Like I'll like drive through Montclair if I have to get to where I need to be. So I just don't want any more traffic.
Well, thank you for your input. Hopefully, Route 46 will become better as the construction, ends and it'll be a little bit better. But thank you for your input.
Thanks.
Mr. Crucia, and at that, we'll go back to the chat. Is that? Oh, thank you. Can you hear us? Is that the first name? I can't see the first name.
Yeah. I'm asking her, for him to unmute. There we go.
Hi there, this is Gian Lombardi speaking.
Hi, good evening.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, go ahead.
Excellent, thanks. So I am a retail cannabis business owner in Haledon. And I thought it would be helpful if I shared some of the best practices and experiences we experienced there with you guys as you look to potentially introduce cannabis into Little Falls. One thing that I think is really important in any sort of a licensing process is a period where businesses or potential businesses and entrepreneurs know that there is an application period that they can apply within and submit an application. What would strike many as unfair is if a single business came to you guys, sought to change the ordinance and get licensed and then did, and that wasn't an opportunity that was, publicly announced or shared with the greater public. So I think for openness, transparency, and eliminating any notion of impropriety in the licensing process, it's something you want to publicly open up an application period, accept multiple applications, and choose what's going to be the best business for Little Falls. Kind of like real estate, you don't want to buy the first house you see. You want to really vet who the entrepreneurs who might want to do business in your town are, and choose who's going to be best for Little Falls in terms of an experience, in terms of minimizing resource drain on the community and operating the business, in terms of economic incentive and job creation. So I think that's an important consideration. The other thing I'd highlight is as your ordinance is written, or as the ordinance 1468 is written, the only applicants who can apply are people who've gone through a conditional licensing phase. It does say you won't issue you won't approve an application unless they've received the appropriate conditional or final state license. That's in section B under local licensing authority. You can't get a final state license until you have a local approval. So you kind of put the cart before the horse there. You're going to want to issue sort of your own form of a conditional license that will allow an applicant to then go ahead and get final state approval, once the state sees that the town is behind the application. And that's the way the process works at the state level. So I wish you guys the best of luck with this. That's my sharing of experience in another municipality that I hope you find helpful.
Thank you for your time. You say you operate a retail operation in Haledon?
We are not operational yet. There is a long bureaucratic process to get actually operational, but we do have an annual license, and we expect to open in a matter of weeks in Haledon.
Thank you for taking the time out to join us this evening.
Yeah, happy to.
Any questions on behalf of the council? Mayor, you have any questions? Is there anyone in the council? You don't have to raise your hand. You just come up forward. Is there anyone in the council chambers that'd like to approach the podium?
Jim Doran. I live on Riverview Circle. Very beautiful place. Two thoughts. One, anytime something of this sort comes up, think back to how successful Prohibition was. There are those who trace a line from Prohibition all the way to Jeffrey Epstein. And it's not an unreasonable sequence of events. When you prohibit something, then the people that are in it are outside of the prohibition. And prohibition in this country led to some very, very terrible things. Worse, I understand recently, because prohibition had a different time frame in Canada than it did here. And so getting the stuff across the border required ingenuity, cooperation, and very great crime. So I think that, grabbing this reasonably is the very, history says is the way to go. I have just one question. Does the town have any authority to require or to encourage unionization? Because I think that is probably one of our largest national problems. And it always gratifies me greatly to see Little Falls in the forefront when it's possible.
Mr. Dormer, you're referring to when the establishment is being built, whether they'll use union help?
When the operation.
Oh, the people they hire in the operation.
Both, but
Yeah.
definitely the.
You want to answer that, counsel? I don't think we have that authority.
No, I'm not sure that the council in and of itself has that authority, but it's an interesting point that Mr. Lombardi had brought up. Maybe one which the council may want me to investigate into. But normally these type of situations with labor agreements, that's usually between state entities or public entities and the union. Here you have a private entity that's regulated in a completely different fashion, a very unusual fashion than they would be in normal course. So at this point, it's an interesting question that you bring up, and I think Mr. Lombardi brought up, and one of which, if the council wants, I can take a further look at as time goes on, as if and when this ordinance gets passed, and if and when we have the opportunity to have an establishment come into town.
Thank you, sir.
When I communicate with friends across the globe, I tell them about Little Falls. I hope we can keep the path.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Crucia, is there someone in the chat that'd like to speak to us, please? Can you?
Gabriella, a little bit.
Hi, Gabriella, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, the floor is yours. Can you just
Okay,
tell us
great.
your name?
Yes, it's Gabriella Wilday. I am Gian Lombardi's partner. And before I begin, I just wanted to address the previous speaker's comment, and let him know that the state requires, on the state application, you are required to have a labor peace agreement in place. So, the cannabis program in the state level is very much aware of the benefits that the union provides to the labor organization. And again, it is a requirement. Also wanted to just point out a couple of things, and, forgive me, if what I'm reading isn't accurate, or perhaps, you can clarify, but it looks like there's two ordinances for discussion tonight. One is ordinance 1468, which addresses section of the code 33.3 and 33.4, which from what I can tell, only addresses conditional and final licensing, and also the renewal fee going from $500 to $5,000 on an annual basis. And then the second ordinance is 1469, which amends zoning to include cannabis retail establishment. However, there is no ordinance to amend 33.6 to include retail. So from my perspective, it sounds like there needs to be an ordinance introduced amending 33.6 to allow retail establishments in Little Falls. Again, I'm very pro cannabis, legal, safe cannabis, I think is the right thing for our state. and I support other retailers. But, you know, I do also, just from experience and working through the process with Halden over the last 2 years, know that everything really needs to be buttoned up so that, you know, everybody has an opportunity to go into the process with eyes wide open. And then just one other comment is I think it might be helpful for the council to consider how many dispensaries you'd like to operate in Little Falls. Put a number to it. This way, as you roll out an application, potential applicants and entrepreneurs know what their chances are of obtaining a license in Little Falls. That's it. I wish you all the best of luck. And, you know, I think it's incredibly exciting for Little Falls. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your time, for that information that you've given us. Council will look into those remarks that you have and get back to us. There's not going to be a vote tonight on 1469. It's going to be held for until further review. But thank you for that information. Is there anyone else that would like to? Oh, I'm sorry.
If
Miller, you like
I
to
just
comment?
may speak to the comments about amending 33.6.
Right.
I'm under the impression that it's not necessary because the class 5 license was never addressed in the prior ordinance. So there's nothing to amend in the current ordinance, since only class 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 were previously approved. Those need to be amended in the new ordinance. Class 5 is just included in this because there's nothing to amend from the prior ordinance. Is that correct, Council?
We gotta take a look.
Okay, Council will go.
That's the lawyer answer.
All right, Council will get back to us. Mr. Crucia, there's someone else in the chat room that would like to speak to us? Okay. Can you hear us?
Hi, yes, I do hear you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Your name for the record, please?
Damaris Rodriguez.
Yep.
And I live here in Little Falls. I have young children. I have a high school student and I have a middle school student, and eventually my other kids will grow. I am against the cannabis ordinance because it obviously jeopardizes young people. They will get access to it. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and there was drugs, illegal drugs everywhere, and you could get it at school. And it is close to the high school, and that is a big concern for me as a mom. And I just want to say I'm against it. And I know there's a lot of people that are pro, but it's obviously, it sounds like there's a lot of people that are not living in Little Falls online right now supporting this. However, I am a resident and I am opposed to it.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, so through the floor, Councilwoman Havelitz.
Yes, I just want to say that I have recently visited one of the dispensaries just to see how they work. I do not use cannabis and I had no idea, so I wanted to go in and just see what it was like, how it was ran. The first thing that happens is you walk into a little vestibule and they scan your license before they'll even let you in the door. As the other residents said, there's nothing that's really displayed. Like little iPads where you can order, and it's then given to you in a sealed bag. They are not letting any children under the age of 21 in the dispensary. It's very monitored, so I don't know how the dispensary would then have children having, used access to drugs. There also are studies that say that communities that have dispensaries have less illegal activity and they have less drug sales, less crime. So although I do understand your point, because I am a mom as well of three children and grandchildren, I would say that the dispensary wouldn't be causing the illegal drugs. The drug dealers on the street would be causing the illegal drugs. But that is just my opinion, and you are welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Crucia, is there anyone else in the chat that'd like to speak to us this evening?
There is not.
Okay. Is there anyone in our council chambers that'd like to come before us and speak?
Long-term resident of Little Falls. I'm not here to talk about cannabis. So I am here to.
I just have to say, Mr. Right now,
Shall I wait?
I think we're under agenda items. Right? I'm sorry. Is this, Mr. Scherzer, is this about any of the agenda items?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't.
Sorry, what is that you want to ask?
I want to talk about COVID And I can wait.
Yep, if you only wait because we're under agenda items, I'm sorry, we follow procedure here. Just bear with us a little bit. Thank you. See no one else that wants to come before us. Very easy here, so if anyone wants to talk in the council chambers, you're welcome to come up.
Hi, everyone. Alexis Arima from Overlook Avenue. I just wanted to come up and express my support. While I'm not someone who uses this, I think it's a great thing for Little Falls. I think that the tax revenue that we could get from this is awesome. And as a final note, streetscape looking good. That's it.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a motion to close the public comment. Moved by Councilwoman Hablitz.
Second.
Second by Councilman Murphy. This is a voice vote. All those in favor do so.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Moved by Councilwoman Hablitz.
Second.
Second by Councilman Murphy. Before we call the roll on the consent agenda, let's discuss resolution E, please. This comes before us. Chief, was this your, we were at the swearing in. I guess you facilitated this through the mayor with this class, with the class 3 officer?
Yes, sir. This was Mr. Cuccia, Mr. Quattrone, the mayor, myself, working with the municipal attorney and the counterparts from the Board of Ed, the superintendent and the school.
And I know for the record, Chief, can you explain what a class 3 officer is?
Sure. So class 3 special law enforcement officer, class 3 is a retired law enforcement officer that's a full-time and part-time employee of the police department who works the calendar school year. So 180 school days, and they work and have law enforcement powers when the school's in session. So this officer, as it sits right now, would arrive to our police station. He would get his firearm, he would get his radio, he would already be in uniform, would get a police car, and he would report to one of the 3 schools first thing in the morning. He'd be present for arrivals, a dismissal, and he's gonna divide his time equally amongst the 3 schools within the township. We're excluding Passaic Valley at this point because they have their own
resource officer.
Yeah, they have their own security officers that they're employing there. So this is for school 1, school 2, and school 3.
And is it more so, Chief, than just a security in our back out information? There was other activities or responsibilities that this officer is going to be doing?
Absolutely. So the class 3 officer is a sworn law enforcement officer, although they're considered the special because they're retired. They do fall under the Police Training Commission for licensing requirements. There are annual training requirements that the position, that just like our full-time officers needs use of force training, and all the other required Attorney General training that's mandated.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none. I'm sorry, just bear with me a second. This is a roll call. Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy?
Yes.
Councilmember Hablitz? Council President Scoba?
Yes. Mrs. Kraus, read ordinance. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Thank you. Before we move to the ordinances, yes, if I may, just to provide some clarity for the residents here in town. The class 3 officer was something that was brought to our attention through the chief and Ms. Marinelli, the superintendent from the schools. And having a police officer in our schools more frequently was always something that the schools had desire for, although we have very frequent walkthroughs, very frequent school visits by our regular police officers. But what this does is it guarantees that there will be a police officer assigned to in our schools every single day. The real beauty of this agreement that we are entering into here between the township and the schools is that there's also a shared cost to this police officer. It's not a cost that is borne 100% by the municipality or 100% by the schools. We are going to be sharing in the cost of this police officer because he will be dedicated to the schools. So there's a mutual benefit by this officer now coming on board. He will be able to handle, again, all of the police duties that are in school at a shared cost to the municipality and the schools. So there's a win-win for everybody. And as I said earlier, just as he was being sworn in, conditioned upon the acceptance of this by this council, our children are our greatest assets, and protecting them at any and all costs is is absolutely necessary. And this is one giant step in that direction to ensuring their safety and security in our schools. So I want to thank the council this evening for taking this step. For those that are not aware, the shared service agreement was already circulated to the schools, and the school board, upon receiving it, has already approved it. So at this point, now with this council's approval, only the signatures and formalization of the agreement is required. And the beginning of the school year, provided all other training requirements are met, we will have a police officer assigned to our schools right from the get-go. So I want to thank this council for their support in making this happen. This is a very good move for the township.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll move on. Mrs. Kraus, can you read ordinance 1467?
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1467, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 136, noise.
Thank you. The public hearing on 1467 is now open. Does anyone wish to speak on this ordinance? Seeing no one coming before us, the public hearing on this 1467 is now closed. Can I have a motion, Councilwoman Havertz?
I also.
Councilman Murphy, to the floor.
Thank you, Council President. So just real quick, I received some emails from residents that were a little concerned about the ordinance, just because the time is being moved from 9 a.m. to 8 a.m. They had asked if we could really reconsider this ordinance. I'm hoping that's something that we could potentially do and, leave it at 9 a.m.
So the 9 a.m., because there's two parts to this, is that that's the weekends, correct?
Correct.
All right, I'm sorry, okay. So Councilman Murphy is suggesting to the governing body that we move the ordinance to 9 a.m. on the weekends. Councilman Havertz?
That was my suggestion.
Everybody's going the same emails? Okay.
Stated that it is a bit early, so that was actually what I was going to suggest as well. So I guess we're on the same page.
Just nobody. Guess nobody goes and sleeps in my household, right? Yeah, okay. So I don't have an issue with that, to do that. If the council foresees that, that's great. But I think we could just put that into the motion, correct, Counselor? Do we don't have to go through this whole process?
Right, so because this is a minor amendment, I don't know if the mayor had any comment, but because it's a minor amendment, we just need a vote of the council to do this. A minor amendment doesn't substantially change the ordinance that would require notice.
Okay.
Can you address the sections? Because this ordinance separated the section from residential to non-residential.
Right.
So
Council President, if I may, for some additional explanation here, this ordinance, it was a dramatic change in our noise ordinance from the prior one that we currently have here in town. And I say that because right now, the entire township is blanketed by one noise ordinance, meaning whether you're a private individual homeowner or you are building a commercial site, you're governed by the exact same noise ordinance. And for the most part, bigger developments are happening on more main streets and things of that sort. And the intention here is really to, ensure that our residents who are around those areas have a little bit more peace because they are bigger projects than the individual who has a single family home who's trying to get a roof over their head and add an addition because they have a newborn on the way or something of that sort. So we've separated this ordinance into two separate sections, meaning there is a residential portion of it that is not really being affected, or I should say is not being affected by this noise ordinance, is allowing work to continue on Saturdays and Sundays at the exact same hours that they are now. But within the commercial zone, this ordinance is prohibiting work on Sundays. And originally it was drafted with an 8 a.m. start time, but I do not oppose the 9 a.m. start time. And I believe it to be a very good move, because what this ordinance also allows is exceptions in the sense that commercial properties are allowed to have things such as spackling, painting, quiet interior work happening before that hour, but they're not allowed to have commercial vehicles outside hammering, nailing, trucks being moved around the site prior to that hour. So yes, for certain parts of a project, it may slow a commercial developer down a little bit because they'll be delayed by that additional hour. But once there are walls up and things of that sort, they can begin working earlier inside as long as they're not making any noise. And overall, I think the burden to the commercial developer is insignificant by modifying this to 9 o'clock. And I fully agree that it should not be permitted, or that I should say, commercial developers should not be permitted to work earlier than they previously were in our prior ordinance.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? We're going to be moving that. Noted, Mrs. Kraus, correct?
Yes.
For the time change.
We need motion to amend the section 136.8C-1 from an 8 a.m. start time of the weekend to a 9 a.m. start on the week. That's 9 a.m. start on the weekends in that commercial zone. So if we can have
So motion for that. And then do we need another motion, or is that just one motion?
motion to amend, that's all we need.
Okay, good. So the council, it's a motion to amend. Who'd like to make that motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Hablitz. This is a roll call to amend the motion. Mrs. Kraus, call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yes.
Councilmember Hablitz, Council President Scoba.
Yes.
Now you need a motion to, on the amended.
Now we need another motion.
Right, sure, yeah, always need a motion. Need motion to
Motion to motion.
approve the ordinance as amended.
So according to council, we now need a motion to amend the ordinance as amended,
So
to approve the ordinance as amended.
so moved.
Moved by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilwoman Hablitz. Call the roll to approve the motion as amended.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yes.
Councilmember Hablitz, Council President Scoba.
Yes. We'll move on to ordinance 1468. Mrs. Kraus, please read 1468.
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1468, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Little Falls, Administration of Government, Section 33, Cannabis.
Thank you. The public hearing on ordinance 1468 is now open. Does anyone wish to speak on 1468? Seeing no one come before us, the public hearing on ordinance 1468 is now closed. Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1468? Moved by Councilwoman Hablitz,
Second.
second by Councilman Murphy. This is to adopt 1468. Mrs. Kraus, call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yes.
Councilmember Hablitz, Council President Scoba.
Yes, Mrs. Kraus, read ordinance 1469.
Second reading and second reading
Mrs.
and
Kraus,
public
read ordinance
hearing.
1469.
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1469, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 280, entitled Zoning.
Thank you. I know the public talked a lot about this, but we're going to go through the motion. The public hearing on ordinance 1469 is now open. See no one come before us. The public hearing on ordinance 1469 is now closed. As mentioned before, there'll be no action. There'll be no vote held on this. This will be held on a later date. Councilman Murphy, I know you expressed concerns that we hold for a period of time. Do you think at the end of October, mid-October would be a time that would give you enough time?
That would be more,
redo
yeah,
this?
that'd be more than enough time. I think just like 30 days was more than sufficient on this. As we heard tonight, some residents were for this and had some concerns, some residents were completely against this. Some folks were from other towns in the industry that, maybe told us something that we may have to change on an ordinance. So I think it's just smart to give us enough time, not rush into it, make sure if we're doing it, get it right. If we don't do it, understand why we're not doing it, whatever the case may be. I just wanted to have that enough time to be sufficient, because once it is voted on, that's it.
Councilman Hablitz, you have anything to add?
I just wanted to say, I did vote to introduce it, and introducing it is the way that we start dialogue. That's how we start dialogue with every single ordinance that we have. We are not adopting it as of yet, but I did feel personally that I had sufficient time to speak to people. As I said earlier, I even went to the dispensary to see the operation, see how a dispensary works. So I don't think that there needs to be time as long as October, but that is up to discretion.
Actually, it becomes a discretion of the council president. Thank you. Have a motion to open the meeting to the public for general matters.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman
Council
Habbott.
President,
Yes, I'm sorry. Did I skip over something?
we have to take a vote and just state the meeting that we will be holding the vote until,
That needs a vote?
or I'm sorry,
So-
not take a vote, but you have to state when we're holding
Yeah.
the vote until.
Right, so
All
when,
right.
when you have an ordinance like this, Ms. Kraus, as the municipal clerk, has an obligation to
Post it.
put out a notice, right? And so she needs to be informed as the next date that the council intends to discuss the ordinance so that she's able to, this one, she will have to renotice for whatever that next date is. So perhaps.
Mrs. Kraus, what is the first meeting in October?
October 16th. 16,
Yep. September 18th.
October 16th.
Columbus Day's the week before.
When's the next meeting?
You said October.
That's our first, October's October
October
16th.
October 16th.
Okay, thank you. Just bear with me with a second. I have to go over something in my head. Let's just figure out. Because the last date for the council to adopt this is December 18th, is that correct? Or December 13th?
December 18th is the last meeting of the year.
Right, to adopt an ordinance before we'd have to start all over. Okay. I'm sorry, that first meeting was October.
October 16th.
Okay, we'll schedule it for October 16th. We'll need a vote on that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Just need to inform. Clerk.
We good?
Thank you, Council President.
We
Yeah.
good? Okay. Okay. Can I have a motion to open the public for general matters?
So moved.
By Councilman, Abbott, second by Councilman Murphy. Mrs. Kraus.
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. It is preferred if you give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President. Members of the public who have joined the meeting virtually and desire to provide comment shall raise their virtual hand in the Zoom application. The meeting moderator will cue the members of the public that wish to provide comment, and the Council President will recognize them in order. Members of the public who have joined the meeting by calling in must press *6 to mute and unmute themselves and *9 to raise their hand. Members of the public who have joined the meeting via the Zoom application must click the reactions icon and then the raise hand icon. Once the process is complete, we'll return to the regular order of business.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your patience.
I'd like to begin, I'm going to be talking about public health for a few minutes. I'd like to thank Councilwoman.
I'm sorry, your name, sir, for the
My
record.
name is Norman Scherzer, live in Little Falls for a long time.
Thank you.
I noticed Councilwoman Patel, I think she's on vacation. I want to thank her, by the way. She has met with me. We have talked about a number of public health issues, and I'll continue to work with her. I'm here because I am concerned that we have yet to take a hard look at how did we do during the last pandemic, and are we prepared for the next one? I had hoped that we would have an evaluation done by the health department with our cooperation, but it hasn't happened. At least it hasn't happened in Little Falls. And I would remind us, even though it seems like a long time ago, that this was the worst pandemic in over 100 years. Thousands of residents in Little Falls became sick. Hundreds became very sick, particularly with long-term COVID. And we're learning more and more about long-term COVID as it goes on. And 26 residents of Little Falls, almost all of them seniors, died. And we forget about that. More people died from COVID in Little Falls than virtually almost any other cause. I want to focus, though, on one particular issue tonight. There are lots of things that we can do getting ready for COVID. Let me just mention that we're about to face a triple threat. COVID is going to return, hopefully not quite as large as before, but the jury is out. It's out because we keep seeing new mutations pop up. And it's not clear yet how effective the new vaccines, we hope they will be, against the new version of COVID. And we expect the new COVID vaccines to be out by September 15th. Flu is going to return. In addition, we have a new visitor this year called RSV, which is a very, very contagious virus, and where vaccinations are recommended for both seniors and for young people. Quick background in terms of my credentials in working with Congress, with Councilwoman Patel. I spent 25 years working for the Centers for Disease Control as an infectious disease project officer. I was the Assistant Commissioner of Health of the City of New York for many years. I was an AIDS consultant to the Harvard Institute for International Development, and so on. I don't know everything about public health, but I know quite a bit. And what I'm most concerned about is this, and it's interesting, the New York Times has been carrying several articles about this. It's problematic about how many people are going to get vaccinated, how many people will mask, how many people will distance themselves, and that all depends upon human behavior. But there's one thing that this town can do to protect people regardless of their behavior, and that is to address the HVAC filtration systems in all of our public buildings, including the one that we're sitting in tonight. There are very clear CDC standards that are out now. I won't go through them in terms of how frequently the air has to be filtered, that will help people not catch these diseases. What these three diseases have in common is they are preventable. They are airborne diseases as opposed to all kinds of other diseases. And if you want to know how airborne diseases work, I'll give you a 60-second course. Remember sunlight coming through a window and you see dust particles all over the room? One of the reasons we open the windows, by the way, is to move those dust particles around. What happens is when somebody coughs in one part of a room, those dust particles carry the virus. The virus clings to the particle. And you come along a minute later and breathe in the virus that he just spread, and he has a disease, that's how you carry. I would like this town to take on this project to at least assess, bring in an environmental person and assess, are our public buildings safe or not? It's kind of a no-brainer. Now, there may be another series of questions, if they're not safe, about what it costs to make them safe. But can people at least know when they walk into a public building, is the air safe to breathe? In addition, I want to talk about schools. In the past, we've had discussions about schools. I've spoken to the mayor about it. We spoke to the county health officer about it. And there's a compartmentalization issue. Well, that's the school's problem and not the health department's problem. I beg to differ. I would like this town to direct its health department, Clifton is our health department, to assess the quality of the air systems in our schools, which are about to open. Schools are the germ factories of the world. My kids went through them, my grandchildren went through them, but everybody who's a parent understands what it's like to have a kid in school. The reason that 26 senior citizens in this town died is most likely in many cases because a grandchild or someone from the school brought them home. And we have a unique school, Passaic Valley, because it's a regional school with feeder students coming to us from both Woodland Park and Toadville. The health department has the responsibility and needs to take the responsibility to assess the air quality in our schools. If there were an issue of safety, and I was listening to discussion before about hiring public safety officers in our public schools, we have no question that the police department has a role to play in assuring that our schools are safe against danger and violence. We have no question that the fire department has a role to play to assure, they do this for businesses as well, that places are safe as can be against fire. Do you have a fire extinguisher? Is there an exit that's available in the event of fire? Now comes public health, which seems to be in this odd state of event. The health department is responsible and needs to be responsible for assessing whether or not it is safe for our teachers and safe for our students to be in these school buildings. The standards are there. The technology exists, and I am pleading, the schools are going to open soon, that we take this on. It is tough to mourn the death of 26 residents. It is particularly difficult when these deaths could have been prevented in many cases. These are preventable diseases. People don't have to die. And even if we save one life, that's a good thing to do. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder, for coming before us tonight. I know your credentials are impeccable. I spoke to you personally many times myself. Thank you for joining us this evening. Mayor, before I pass it over to the mayor, council, do you have members, do you have any questions or comments? So I will concur with you with your statement about confined. I think we all know that airplanes were quite a catalyst to many people getting COVID and probably passing away because of the air quality. Here at the town level, we work, the mayor has the rights to facilitate if he feels that the buildings are unsafe, and then the council would support the funding for that. As far as the schools, I know the mayor has good working relationships with Superintendent Brock and Superintendent Marinelli. Mayor, would you like to comment?
Well, I have a couple of updates regarding other issues in town, but on this, again, yeah, I know that the health department has worked with both schools throughout the entire pandemic and has provided them with guidance. I don't know that these types of evaluations have been done. I don't know that the health department can perform these types of evaluations. Again, it's something that can certainly be discussed moving forward and find out what costs to make particular upgrades would be. And then, moving forward, I think each can determine whether or not they want to make those upgrades based upon what the costs may be.
Thank you, Mayor. Does anyone else like to say anything under public comment? And we'll circle back to you, Mayor, in a moment. Have a motion to close the public comment? Moved by Councilman Havlet, second by Councilman Murphy. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Mayor, you said you had some more updates that you'd like to inform us about?
Sure, Councilman. Yeah, I have two other updates that I'd like to provide this evening. The first is regarding the senior freeze, and I know I received mine in the mail today with information about the senior freeze. I unfortunately don't qualify for that yet, but for anyone who has turned 65 years of age in 2021 or are older, you may have the opportunity to freeze your property taxes. And that is defined and determined based upon what your income was, meaning in 2021, you had to have earned less than $94,178. And in 2022, you had to have earned less than $99,735. If you meet those conditions, you can contact the tax office here in town. You can file the form PTR1 with the state of New Jersey. The deadline for this is October 31st of this year. I say that because unfortunately, we have a lot of residents who October 29th and 30th and on the 31st are scrambling to get these documents completed. They are not that easy to complete. If you wait until the last minute, you may very well miss the deadline, even if you are eligible and qualify. So I urge everyone to begin taking a good look at that if you qualify and meet those conditions, because I don't want anybody to miss the senior tax freeze if they are eligible. So that was the first update, Council President. And the second that I have is regarding what is a very well-known and widely talked about issue in Little Falls lately. And for anyone that has Verizon cell service may very well know that driving down Main Street in other areas of town, particularly between, I have found it to be a Union Ave here and Route 23 and both sides, north and south of Main Street, calls are not working. You're getting SOS, you're dropping calls left and right. You're going in and out of conversations with people. And I have contacted the Verizon rep who services this area. They advised me that they are making upgrades to their system. One of the comments that he made that I wasn't totally thrilled about was that sometimes you have to take one step backwards to take two steps forwards. I'm hoping our forward steps are happening soon because we've been about 6 weeks now with this. Just the other day, I was sitting in my very own office, and for a 5 or 6 minute period, I had SOS only on my phone with no ability to make regular phone calls from my cell phone. Again, they are aware of this. This is not just a Little Falls issue. He lives up in Sussex County and is having the exact same issues in his area. So they are aware. They are apparently improving their networking system, but they are working on getting it to a point where these calls are no longer being dropped. So again, they are aware. Verizon is working on it, but I just want everybody in town to understand that this is not a municipal issue. This is nothing that the township can repair. This is part of Verizon's growing pains, I guess, and it is affecting anyone who has Verizon as a cell phone service. So be aware that it is being addressed, it is being fixed. Hopefully it's fixed sooner rather than later. And that's what, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. Before we close out, I want to thank the administrative staff for helping me assisting and putting this agenda together. This was a little bit of a challenge week. I appreciate all the time and effort. It's greatly appreciative. I know there was also some days when there was days off and people on vacation that I had to speak to, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Can I have a motion to close this meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Hablitz. All those in favor of adjourning this meeting do so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, this meeting is now closed.